All right. Thank you for that, Carlos. All right. Well, welcome to Recruiting in Today's Market. As he mentioned, I'm MAPS Coach Rich Rector, and I'm sure that I know many of you. Thank you for being here. We've got an action-packed 30-minute session today where we're going to talk about some key strategies, tactics, different things to finish the year strong, and especially as we're moving into recruiting season. So let's kind of just jump into that. So as you know, we've got less than 5 months left in the year, about 130 work days. There's an aha for everybody, right? Did you know that we are at the start of recruiting season? Now, sometimes I get in trouble for saying that because it's always a good time to recruit, and that is very true. However, the seasonality of recruiting, if you really study the industry and understand that piece, there's after Labor Day, typically through about half of the first quarter is when we see most of the movement for various different reasons. Primarily, people coming off of summer, kids going back to school, agents needing to get back to work. They've spent a lot of their money. They don't really have a big pipeline. The fall's in the air, and they need to finish strong. Holidays, all that kind of stuff. And so that's typically why we see the seasonality of the opportunity of recruiting and movement. However, this year, over the last year and a half, with everything that's gone on in the world, I think you all would agree that this summer has been just crazy with people being on vacation and needing to get out and all that stuff, which is understandable. So you have that phenomenon more so now than ever happening, where they're going to be coming back, into the market here in a couple of weeks, and people are going to be looking for answers. Also, another factor to consider is the market is beginning to level off in different parts of the country pretty quickly. Inventory's building, days on market are growing. I know that varies from market to market. Nobody really knows what all that's going to mean, what it's going to look like. Interest rates, are still incredibly low, and they lowered those again. We've got the moratoriums that are going to be lifted. So who knows what all that's going to look like. At the end of the day, though, agents are going to be coming back from vacation. Their pipeline is going to be not as big as it has been in the first 6 months of the year. And if you're in one of those markets, they're going to where the market is beginning to level off or cool down. There's going to be some concern for agents, which is great for recruiting. Okay, because fear or curiosity is always great for what we're looking to do. Remember that we have 10 seconds to create curiosity to get an appointment over the phone, and nothing happens if we don't have an appointment. So this curiosity that we can create with the market maybe shifting or adjusting or leveling will play right into our hand, as well as the time of year. So this is the time to really focus on recruiting and what's your plan and who's going to help you and what does that look like so you can have a strong finish, as well as it's very important to look at what's your retention plan this time of year for obvious reasons. Now, guys, all great recruiters have a system. They all have a system, right? This is not brain surgery, so to speak. This is really just like selling real estate. It's about having a system and having a plan. So when you look at some of these top, market centers that are recruiting 20, 30 people a month, it's because they have a different level of mastery of the system. That's all, right? And we can speak to that, and we'll go through some of that stuff today. That's all that it really is. I have the pleasure and privilege of working with a lot of these market centers that are pulling in 25 plus. As an example, Boise, who won the Bet on Red last year, they're averaging almost 30 gross a month. What's the difference between a market center like that and a market center that's bringing in 5? It's their level of mastery of the system and their level of execution of the system. And we're going to touch on that system real quick. And I want you to take a look at this as we go through this. And I want you just to maybe rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe take a screenshot of this or a photo, and then talk to your team about that as you move through this last half of the year. and see where there's opportunities for you to plus up your system. Okay. So level of mastery, 1 to 10. All great recruiters have a plan. Again, a strategic recruiting plan is just like a real estate agent having a plan or a 135. So understand that your 135 for the market center that includes probably profitability, retention, productivity is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a strategic plan that's a stand on its own plan for recruiting with multi-sources, multi-facets, an organizational chart, metrics, and all of those kind of things, right? So number 2, all great recruiters are very clear on who their target lists are, and they're very clear on what their most effective strategies are, recruiting strategies that they're using. Like, for example, Indies and mega agent offices is going to be a big strategy, especially as we move towards the end of the year, into the new year. And if this market does begin to level off and somewhat shift, they're going to be, very open and curious to what options are available for them. Why? Because over the last 12 years, the market's been, great. And most of those brokers are operating on thin margins, especially the last 18 months. It's been just wild, as we all know. And when the market starts to shift somewhat, a lot of those indies are also mega agents that own those offices. So they're going to see that with their personal business, and there's going to be some concern and fear there. Most of those people that own those brokerages have an idea that we've been in this market cycle for probably longer than anybody thought, including Gary Keller, who's referenced that this would last. So there is going to become this shift at some point. So the minute that they start to see something happening, that's when they're going to start, we'll just call it having some fear. I wouldn't say panicking, but looking for options. So understanding your targets and how to go after them. Another thing that's real popular this time of year, especially coming off the summer, is events. Okay, events. Agents are looking for answers and events, strategies to, coming to masterminds, coming to obviously things like Mega Camp, different events that you may have going on. Those, you're going to see more attendance in events in the fourth quarter, the late third and fourth quarter, than you typically saw during the summer. So they have a plan. They know who their targets are. They've also mastered what to say. They've mastered the scripts. I know a lot of you don't like scripts. Scripts are just words that you internalize and make your own. But somebody has to write them down so that you have an idea of what to say or what phrases to use. So don't be afraid of scripts. But the master recruiters, they know what to say. I mean, that's just the bottom line. You've heard them on panels. You'll see them at Mega Camp. They have the language down. So what's your level of mastery in those areas? They've mastered the needs analysis. We're going to touch on that real briefly today. In my opinion, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is the most critical part to the experienced agent recruiting process, is mastering the needs analysis. What's the needs analysis? That's what you say. That's what you take them through. That's the questions that you ask when they come in and meet with you after you've set up a recruiting appointment. Okay, so mastering that needs analysis, then determining what your value propositions are, knowing how to communicate those benefits without overselling them. So there's a 10-step recruiting presentation like the 27-question needs analysis that great recruiters utilize to get these candidates, these recruits, to sell themselves on the value propositions and benefits that are being presented as the things that bridge the gap from where they're at in their business to where they want to go, to create and solve the challenges that they have. All of that is discovered through the questions you ask in the needs analysis, and you set them up so that they're wanting to find solutions to their challenges and accomplishing their goals that maybe they didn't realize they had until you started talking with them at the needs analysis. And then that 10-step presentation is laid out in a way that as you present your benefits, they actually quantify how many more deals they think they can add to their business with those things and begin to sell themselves. So level of mastery in your recruiting presentation, level of mastery in your needs analysis, level of mastery in setting appointments, having a plan, knowing your targets, knowing what strategies to use. And all great recruiters are great at closing and handling objections, right? Closing is a natural end to a great presentation, and you're going to have less objections the better that your presentation is, which is back to the needs analysis and the 10-step presentation. So take a look at your recruiting system in all 10 of these areas and ask yourself, where do you need the most help? Who can help you? And figure out how you can get that support so that you can refine those areas so that you can continue to increase the results that you're having. Number 8 is a big one. Lead follow-up. 70% of your hires join you during the lead follow-up phase. 70%, which means the majority, right? So do we have a good lead follow-up program? Do we know what to say when we talk to them? Do we know how often we're following up? Is it systematic to our approach? Are we sending them stuff? Are we calling them? Are we using video? Do we have smart plans? What does that look like, right? And how do you feel you do with lead follow-up? And then number 9 is developing an agent transition plan and orientation system. The minute that they say yes, they'll join. You guys know this. That's when the real work starts with experienced agents, because we have to coach them out of their brokerage. We have to simulate the experience they're going to have when that broker rolls out the red carpet. We need to help script them on what to say when they go in and tell the broker they're leaving, right? So do you do that? And how good is that piece and that transition system and orientation when they join you? Because the experience they have when they onboard will impact the amount of referrals and how you can leverage them, number 10, and turn that one hire into multiple hires so that you don't have to continue to do cold calling and all the heavy lifting, right? If you can turn one hire into 3 hires, and I'm going to share with you on this call a plan on how to do that, that makes your life easier, right? You want to recruit, let's say you want to recruit 60 people. You only need 20 good ones that you can leverage. So again, that just creates an opportunity for you when you know how to do that. And we'll touch on that in a minute. So let's touch base about, recruiting sources. So first of all great recruiters, as I just mentioned, have a system and they have a level of mastery in that system that we just went through. They also have created what we call the accumulation effect with the recruiting sources. Now, here's some of the main recruiting sources. There's a few others that might not be on here that you use, but let's take a look at these. Phone calling, right? Whether it's warm calling or cold calling, at some level, we need to pick up the phone. Yes, we're texting. Yes, there's social media, but you have to use the phone at some point to be a successful recruiter. Number 2, agent referrals. How are you doing in this area? I would encourage you to grade yourself 1 to 10 on these as well. Take a screenshot, review this after the call and say, where do I need the most help, in this area? Okay. So agent referrals, recruiting events, as I mentioned, educational and social. So how are you doing in getting people to come to events? I know that this has been a challenge over the last 18 months with COVID, and now we have this new variant and stuff, and some changes and issues going on in different parts of the country. But at the end of the day, educational events has always been one of our best recruiting sources as a company. We have better education than anybody. How do you do getting people to show up, right? Co-brokes, number 4, an area that we neglect quite a bit, unfortunately, and it's an easy one. Those are warm leads. People that have done deals with your agents. So people that have done deals with your agents, what's your system to talk to those people? Who's reaching out to those people? What are they saying? How are you turning that into an appointment, right? Many of you that are closing 100 transactions a month, have 100 people on the other end of those deals that you could be talking to. That's 25 people a week, right? So what do you say? Are you calling them up and just saying, thank you for the transaction? As a special thank you, I'd like to invite you to this educational event, or as a special thank you, I'd like to invite you in for a third and fourth quarter business strategy session, especially as the market, begins to change. I have some great tactics I'd love to share with you that our top agents are using to create momentum and capitalize off the opportunities as we move towards the end of the year. So co-broke transactions, do you have a good system around that? Broker tours and open houses. Again, depending on if you're allowed to do those in your market area, with the pandemic and all this kind of stuff, take a look at that. That's always been a great source, is getting out and seeing the people, right? And talking to people. Here's an analogy that I use with a new coaching client this week. So if you take a look at your pond, your recruitable pond, agents that aren't with you or other Keller Williams offices, but in your recruitable area, let's just say there's 1,000 people in there, okay, 1,000 realtors. So your goal, your job really as a recruiter is simply to get into relationship with those 1,000 people. That's it. And how you do that is listed here on this page, right? You get to choose how you do that, but the faster that you can get into a relationship with those people, the better results you're going to have as a recruiter. So I want you to think of it this way. This could be your big aha. If I was going to give you $100,000 at the end of 12 months, I was going to stroke you a check. If you could get into a relationship with those 1,000 people in the next 12 months, if that was your pond, what would you do? Starting today, what would you do? Who would help you? What kind of leverage would you create? What type of technology? What type of commitment would you have? What type of time would you put towards that? If I was going to give you $100,000, if you could get in relationship with 1,000 people, right? In that time frame. I mean, what is that? 80 people a month? What would you do? It's 20 people a week for $100,000. That puts you in a different perspective, doesn't it? That's all recruiting is. So there's going to be phone calling. You're going to ask for referrals. You're going to host events. You're going to call co-brokes, right? You're going to go out and see the people. You're going to leverage the hires of the people that have joined you and who they know. Leverage affiliates. You're going to use social media. You're going to use video. You're going to text, right? You're going to have a marketing program for new agents that are entering the business. Licensing schools. If you have a state licensee list, you're going to tap into that. You're going to host career seminars. You're going to get into a relationship with a school or let them use your space or have your own, right? Again, you're going to leverage your team. Who can help you? Can the ALC help you, right? Can your front desk help you? Your MCA, your ATL, right? Do you have a virtual assistant? I mean, who would you get to help you for $100,000 to get in a relationship with those 1,000 people? That's what I want you to think about. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself in these areas? All right, let's talk real quick, shift gears. I'm going to cover a lot of stuff today. But again, this is about how to recruit in today's market. You have to get clear on what your benefits are. And in the 10-step presentation, you don't want to oversell those, right? You want to let the questions cause the recruit to sell themselves, of seeing that the gap or the missing link to them accomplishing their goals is in these benefits, because other agents are using them to win. And when other agents are having success with these benefits and they're not, whether they're your own agent or a recruit that doesn't have access to them, the perception is I can too. Perception's reality. So technology, obviously command, right? Coaching and consulting. This is your involvement in their business. Your PC's involvement in their business. MAPS is involved in their business. But who's helping them go to the next level? Who's helping them with the plan and accountability? Your environment of productivity. This is the environment you've created, right? Your training calendar, the ALC, the things that you do to create that culture and that environment of productivity in your market center. Education and advanced agent training. One of our cornerstones. right, as one of the key benefits, whether it's advanced agent education like Mega Camp and Family Reunion or Mastermind panels, or some of the great regional events, programs like Bold or Ignite, or the things you're doing in the office, right? Education is a big benefit. And then our client follow-up system, right? The MRE model, right? So we've got the models, the systems, the red book. Client follow-up is one of the biggest areas of neglect in our entire industry. Most people are only getting about a 2 to 3% return on the database. And Gary has a plan and a program in the red book, right? 36 touch technically, right? That'll get you a 10% return or a 12 to 2. A lot of opportunity there. And then our tools like Keller Mortgage and the referral network, the Facebook ads, you command. So, and then there's others that I'm sure that you have. The key is that you want to, when you're presenting your benefits in the recruiting presentation, I would recommend that you don't present more than about 6, because most everything else falls underneath one of these bullets here. Because if you present more than 6, it starts to become very overwhelming for the candidate. So just be aware of that. Okay. Here's some key phrases that I wrote down timely right now as we're moving, through the last 130 work days in the year. That's pretty shocking, right? Take a look at a calendar. Your work days are probably less than that. 130 work days is about an agent, working about 6 days a week. Take a look at how many work days are left in the year. When you take out, holidays and, assuming that somebody's not working 7 days a week, it's not very many. So here's some questions. Are you interested in taking more listings in this tight inventory market? Right? That's a great question to engage somebody in a conversation for an appointment. Interested in strategies to finish the year strong, to create momentum, right? Strategy to protect your business as the market begins to level off. This is going to be a bigger phrase as we move deeper into any type of a market correction or leveling. Plan to capitalize the opportunity. Do you have a plan to capitalize on the opportunities in the 3rd and 4th quarters? And then business planning for the new year. So these are all things that you could be talking about that are very timely. In appointment setting, as I mentioned, you have 10 seconds to create curiosity. And one of the ways to create curiosity is to always create a time frame in the conversation, in the script you're using. Hey, as we move into the 4th quarter. Hey, as we start the new year. Right? That type of thing. So it causes their frame of mind to have to listen to what you're saying, that you're talking about them and the timing right now that we're in. So use that throughout the year as you prospect. Okay. Here's some of the 12 tips for recruiting in today's market I talked about, where you can turn 1 hire into 3, right? Ask your hire, right? When you bring somebody in, you want to ask them who they know in the first 7 days that they're there. That's when the height of their curiosity is, of the agents that they're at the old company. And that's when the height of the excitement is of the person you just recruited. Not a month or 45 days later when they get acclimated, right? Which a lot of people think, because by then the luster's worn off, or there's been some challenges, right, with their onboarding. So right away is when you want to ask them, who do they know? Use a non-recruiting dialogue. Bob, I'm so excited that you decided to join forces with us. Looking forward to do some great things together. Bob, who do you know that can also use these great tools and systems to help them in their business? Right? Instead of saying, hey, who do you know we can recruit from your old office? Right? When they give you names, ask them to get involved. Bob, I know Sally and Joe would really love this education. Great. Since you know Sally and Joe so well, what do you think they'd be most receptive to? A phone call from you setting up an appointment for me, or a phone call from you letting them know I was going to be contacting them, right? Send out a hire announcement, post on social media. If it's a big, recruit, consider placing an ad in your local publication or real estate magazine, right? Let all the affiliates know that you've hired this person so that the word can get out. Create a marketing piece showing all your hires year to date, a collage. Do that every quarter. Do it every month if you're bringing in 10 plus people, right? That shows and creates validity that people are joining you, right? Encourage your agents to push that stuff out as well. right? Have them like it on your social media, have them share it, right? Attend functions where you're out with other agents, whether it's social or board events with those new recruits, especially if they have influence, because that's going to be the talk of that event. Man, Bob, you were over at ABC company for 20 years. Well, now you're over at KW. How's it going? And you're standing right there, right? Consider using video if it's the right hire too. That creates another touch for you. Okay, so tactics to finish the year strong right now as we move into recruiting season. Events, we got to get people to events, right? Events that top producers will attend. What are those? What does that look like for you in the next 4 months? Obviously, we have Mega Camp right around the corner. What else do you have, right? Do a better job at telling your story. Tell your story with hire announcements, agent testimonials, your lure numbers, and invitations. Use video as much as you can, right? Leverage your top 20%, leverage your affiliates. Ask them who they know that can use this technology, use these tools, this coaching, this education to help them in their business. These tactics to protect their business, right, as the market levels off. Target independent brokers, mega agent offices, as we talked about. This is the time of year when those brokers start to think about, do I want to do this again next year, especially if there's some pressure in the market, right? Understand the 5 consultations, the tech audit, people assessment, 30-60, 30-30-40 is what that should say. Disruptive, indie partnership, as we just talked about in the new expansion model. Understand how all that plays into your recruiting, right? So a thought, I want to leave you with a couple thoughts here. Guys, myself included, we all have a habitual hesitation. I'll do it later, do it tomorrow. Whether it's we hesitate to close, we hesitate to ask the tough questions, we hesitate to get into action, or we hesitate to seize opportunity. So ask yourself, what will happen if you don't get past your habitual hesitation? To really go big, get past that habitual hesitation, whatever that is holding you back. What's it costing you? What will you lose if you don't get past that? Unleash that today as we move through the last 100+ days of the year, and put that hesitation to end. Get the support and the help that you need, right? We talked about mastering the 10 components of the recruiting system. Grade yourself on a 1 to 10. We looked at the recruiting sources, 1 to 10. Where do you need help? Okay. Let me just share with you this. Starting in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, on the 19th, my Rockstar recruiting program is starting. There's been over 1,500 team leaders that have gone through this program. And the great news is your recruiting team can also participate for one price, one registration. Are you in that position, like a lot where your productivity coach, you wish they would help you recruit, you wish your ALC would get more involved, you wish your growth committee, you wish your MCA, your front desk, you wish your agent services, you can get these people involved in helping you. You know that you can have them all participate with you in this program for just one registration, so we can get everybody on the same page. Anyways, this program right here is it's $199 a month. Okay, we cover all of these key components. There's 12 calls, and there is a weekly webcam prospecting session as well, where you can literally, with your team, come on with me and other market centers as well that are in the program, and prospect for an hour every Thursday, and we work on the phones together. We get better. Appointment setting, it's great accountability for your people. You can have your virtual assistants, your cyber recruiters on there as well. It's a great part of the program. It's optional. You don't have to participate. You can just participate in the training calls, the 1 hour, 12 training calls that we have, where we teach you how to master all the components that we just talked about. Again, here's the things that we go through in this program, okay, from everything that we discussed. So guys, remember that this is the recruiting season. As we move through the last of the third and into the fourth quarter, and including, January and mid-February is seasonally when the recruiting season is. This is the time when you want to be very clear on what your plan is, who's going to help you, right? And getting into action, because you don't want to miss it. I've been doing this recruiting thing for almost 20 years, and I've been coaching for almost 15. And I'll tell you, in my opinion, my opinion is I think you're going to see more movement over the next 6 months than we've seen in a long time, especially if this market starts to level and cool, because over 65% of the agents have never seen a shifting market. 65% of the agents in real estate right now got into business, right, during the boom. So they're going to be very curious. They're going to want answers. They're going to want solution support. We have the shift tactics and book, right? We in the last market correction, guys, did you know that Keller Williams tripled its production and doubled in size? So we have a pretty good track record in history when markets change on how we react and how our people win. So all of that's going to play right into our hands, if you seize that opportunity. All right, let me see if there's any questions in the chat before we wrap up. This call is recorded, so I know a lot of you jumped in late. We're going to send the recording out to all of you. Yes, does the course go into recruiting small teams? Absolutely. I have quite a few people that have teams that aren't team leaders that participate in this program so they can learn how to recruit for their teams, or the people that are helping build their teams are learning how to recruit. So absolutely, great program for that. Where can you find the 27 questions for the needs analysis? I'll post it right here in the chat. Okay. Other questions? And you can come off mute if you want. I think you have the ability to do that, or you can just put a question in the chat. Any other questions?
Rich, hi, it's Vicki. How do we invite the rest of our team if we've already registered for the?
Yeah, all you need to do is let me know who they are, and you can just share your information with them. The stuff.
Okay.
And I'm going to send you out a starter kit that has all of the scripts, my videos, and the link and all the stuff on how to get in. And I'm going to send that to you probably in about a week. And so that's how you can get them set up, and then just let me know who they are.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. And I'm also putting in my email address in the chat, which most of you may have, so that you can email me with any questions as well. Anybody else have any questions? Anything you'd like to ask? Going once, twice. Thank you so much for participating today. And there's my email. So if you don't have that needs analysis, or you need the 10-step questions or any of that, there you go. There's the document for the needs analysis, but you can always email me and I can get it to you as well. Thanks for participating today. Go get them. It's recruiting season. If I can help, let me know. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.